Right. So today we are going deep, deep into A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
Which is, I think, a book that a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with, but
Oh,
we're
absolutely.
going to be going really deep into it.
Yeah,
So,
it's a really important book,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
And it's a book that you can come back to again and again and again
absolutely.
and find new things in it every time.
Yeah. And I think that's the mark of a really good book,
Totally.
is that the
Yeah.
fact that you can keep coming back to it.
Yeah, and you're a different person every time you read it.
Yes.
So it's like having a conversation with a different person
Yeah.
every time.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, I
Yeah.
think we're going to be focusing a lot on this idea of a leap in human consciousness
Yeah.
and how we get there.
Yeah, and the sort of the block to that leap in consciousness,
Yeah.
which is the ego.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's really what this book is about.
Okay, so let's start there then.
Yeah.
With this idea of the ego.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, when they hear that word ego,
Yeah.
they think of somebody who's like egotistical
Right.
and
Arrogant.
yeah, and arrogant. But it sounds like Tolle is talking about something
Yeah. It's much deeper than that.
deeper than that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's really a structure of the mind that's been
Let's-
conditioned over time.
Over time.
Yeah. And it's something that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not who we are.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a separate entity almost that
Yeah.
that forms in our minds.
Okay, so it's something that's
It's not our true self,
gotcha.
but it convinces us that it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's almost like it's masquerading
Yeah.
as our true selves.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it identifies with things
Okay.
like our possessions, our achievements, our roles in life,
Okay.
our thoughts and feelings.
Okay, so this feeling of I am my job title.
Yeah.
Or I am what I own.
Yeah. Or I am my thoughts, or
That's
I
right.
am my feelings.
Yeah.
So it's all this identification.
Okay, and so then that's where
And so the more we identify with these things, the more fragile
Okay.
our sense of self becomes.
Gotcha.
So we're constantly looking for validation outside of ourselves.
Okay.
We're constantly comparing ourselves to others.
Right.
We're constantly trying to prove our worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah, because the ego is never satisfied.
yeah, it's that constant
It always wants more.
wanting more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can never get enough. You
Yeah.
can never be enough
Gotcha.
for the ego.
Okay.
And that's where all the trouble starts.
That's where the trouble starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has a really good example in the book
Okay.
of a woman that he met at Cambridge University
Mm.
who was, she was brilliant,
Okay.
but she was completely lost in her own world. Yeah. And
So almost like,
she was completely detached from reality.
oh, wow.
Yeah. She was so identified with her thoughts
Gotcha.
that her thoughts had become her entire reality.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a little unnerving
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah. And I think we all kind of
Right. We can all kind of,
do that to a certain extent.
yeah, get lost in our heads.
Get lost in our heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was like a really extreme example.
Okay, so it's sort of like that taken to the
Yeah, taken to the nth degree.
to the extreme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does this ego
Yeah.
kind of manifest
Yeah.
in our everyday lives?
Yeah. Well, I think a really good example
Okay.
is the world of advertising.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Tolle says that advertisers are masters
Okay.
at manipulating the ego.
Okay, so they're playing on
Yeah, they're playing on our insecurities,
Right.
our desires for status and belonging. Yeah.
And they're saying buy this and you'll be
Yeah. Buy this and you'll be complete. More complete. You'll be happy, you'll be successful, you'll be loved.
you'll be all these things.
Yeah.
You'll be
You'll be the person you've always wanted to be.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true. You see that
It's so true.
like everywhere you look.
Everywhere you look. Yeah.
Like buy this new thing.
yeah.
And
You'll be
happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's never enough.
It's never enough. There's always a newer
always something else.
a better
Yeah. A faster, a shinier.
Yeah.
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 So it's a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
The ego thrives on more.
Right.
It's constantly seeking something outside of ourselves
Yeah.
to fulfill us.
Yeah.
But the problem is that true fulfillment
Right.
can only be found within.
Right. Okay. So
Mhm.
he also talks about how the ego
Yeah.
is obsessed with time.
Yeah. It keeps us trapped in the past,
Right.
replaying old hurts and regrets. And it keeps us trapped in the future,
Right.
worrying about potential problems.
Right.
Yeah. But
It does this to distract us from the present moment,
okay.
which is the only place where true peace and
Right.
joy can be found.
Gotcha. So it's like if we're...
Yeah, so if we're dwelling on past mistakes
Yeah.
or future anxieties,
Right.
we're actually feeding the ego.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we're giving it more power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says that the ego also loves drama.
Yeah. It thrives on conflict and negativity,
Okay.
which is why we often get sucked into arguments,
Right.
gossip, complaining.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we're addicted
It's like an addiction.
to the drama,
Yeah.
even when it makes us miserable.
Even when it makes us miserable. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a strange thing.
yeah. So then how do we start to
Yeah.
kind of break free from this ego's grip?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because in the next chapter, he talks about the many faces of the ego.
The different roles that we play throughout our lives.
Okay, so not just those obvious roles.
Yeah. Not just the tough guy or
The tough guy.
the people pleaser.
Yeah,
Or the victim.
right.
Yeah. It's even more subtle than that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's like the roles that we play in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Like being a customer,
Oh,
being a patient,
Right,
being a student.
right.
Yeah. All these different roles
Okay.
that we kind of unconsciously slip into.
Okay, and they can all be ego-driven.
Yeah, and he has this really funny story
Right.
about this monk
Okay.
who is trying to impress his teacher.
Okay.
So he's meditating,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying so hard to be a good meditator
Yeah.
that he starts sweating profusely.
Oh, no.
And his palms are all sweaty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And it's just this funny example of how,
Yeah.
even spiritual pursuits
Right.
can be hijacked by the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he introduces this idea of the pain body.
Yes, yes.
I'm
That's
sure I
right.
like
The
that.
pain body is a big one.
Yeah, that's a heavy one.
Yeah.
But it's also like
It's very powerful.
really important to understand, I think.
Very important to understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So do we want to talk about that now or do we want to?
we'll talk about that in the next part, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that's a really important,
It's a whole topic in itself.
it's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah. But
It's a really important one.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll leave it there for this part
Yeah.
and we'll pick it up
We'll pick it up next time
next time with the pain body.
with the pain body.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. So the pain body.
Yeah. The pain body.
This is like
It's heavy stuff.
it's heavy stuff. It's like a dense energy field
yeah.
that we carry around with us.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's basically it's made up of all the unresolved emotional pain that we've experienced in our lives.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like a backpack full of
Yeah. It's like a backpack full of emotional baggage.
Yeah.
That we're lugging around.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's
like a shadow.
It's like a shadow self.
Yeah.
That gets triggered by certain people
Okay.
or situations.
Okay, so you can be going along.
Yeah, you can be going along having a great day,
Right.
and then suddenly something happens, and
Mhm.
you're like,
Yeah, you're like, whoa, where did that come from?
"Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like
Totally overreacting.
you're totally overreacting
Uh-huh.
to the situation. Yeah, and it's because
That pain body.
pain body has been triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And that's so relatable.
oh, and it can be really unconscious.
Okay.
Like we might not even be aware
Yeah.
of why we're feeling so reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gives a good example in the book of
Uh-huh.
this woman who gets really angry
Okay.
over some unpaid service charges on her phone bill.
Okay.
And she's like fuming.
Okay.
And she's like, I'm going
Mhm.
to call this company and I'm going to,
Yeah.
give them a piece of my mind.
Yeah.
And then she has this moment of awareness
Oh,
where
yeah.
she realizes
Right.
that her reaction is
Yeah.
totally out of proportion
Yeah.
to the situation.
Right. Okay. So she's able to
Yeah, she's able to see
kind of step back from it
step back from it and observe it.
and observe it.
Yeah.
And
And that's what
that's the key.
that's the key
Yeah. To
kind of
breaking free from the pain body
yeah.
is to become aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to observe it
So you have to.
without judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to notice it.
But that's hard.
It is hard. It takes practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's possible.
Yeah.
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 And the more we can do that,
Okay.
the more space we create
Yeah.
for a more balanced response.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of just reacting from that place of pain,
Well,
we can actually choose
Right.
how we want to respond.
okay, so it's sort of like we're not
Yeah. We're not victims
victims of our pain body.
of our pain body anymore. We can
Yeah.
actually take control of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do we
Yeah. How do we do that?
how do we cultivate that awareness?
Yeah.
It seems like it's so easy
It is easy to get swept away.
to just be reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes practice.
Okay.
Yeah, to kind of cultivate that awareness.
Okay.
But he gives some really good
Okay.
tools in the book
Yeah.
for
Okay.
breaking free from
Okay.
these patterns.
Okay.
And I think one of the most important ones
Okay.
is becoming present.
Okay, so that's like focusing on.
Yeah, focusing on what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Instead of
Okay.
getting lost in our thoughts
Right.
about the past or the future.
Right. So that's like noticing the sensations.
Noticing the sensations in our body,
Yeah.
noticing the sounds around us,
Yeah.
noticing the breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just bringing our attention
Yeah.
to the present moment.
Yeah.
And when we do that,
Okay.
we actually weaken the ego's hold.
Okay.
Yeah, because the ego
Right.
thrives on.
Right. It loves to keep us in the past.
Yeah, it loves to keep us in the past and the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so by becoming present,
Yeah.
we're actually cutting off its food supply.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're starving the ego.
Yeah. And then what happens?
And then something else emerges.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
That's our true self.
that's our true self.
Okay. So it's there all along.
It's there all along.
Okay.
It's just covered up by the ego.
Okay.
Yeah, and so in chapter 7, he really invites us
Okay.
to contemplate this question of who am I?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful question
Yeah.
because it invites us
Okay.
to explore our true nature
Okay.
beyond the limitations of form,
Okay.
thoughts, emotions.
Uh,
Yeah, so it's like, who are we?
Yeah. How do you even begin to answer that?
Yeah, it's a journey. It's
Yeah.
not something you can just
Yeah.
figure out in an instant.
Right.
Yeah, but he suggests that we can start
Okay.
by recognizing the impermanence
Okay.
of all things.
Okay.
Yeah, so our possessions, our relationships,
Okay.
our bodies,
Yeah.
our thoughts, very limited physically.
Right.
But he had this incredible mind.
Right.
And he lives such a
Yeah.
rich and meaningful life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Yeah. And I remember that part of the book really struck me.
Yeah.
Because it made me think about like my own definition of limitations.
Yeah.
Like if Stephen Hawking could find
Yeah.
fulfillment and purpose
Yeah.
in the face of
Yeah.
such adversity,
Yeah.
what's holding the rest of us back?
Yeah, exactly. And often it's our own minds.
Yeah.
It's our own identification
Okay.
with the ego.
Okay.
Yeah, with that limited
Okay.
self-image.
Right.
But he's saying that there's a deeper dimension
Okay.
within each of us
Yeah, okay.
that's untouched
Okay.
by suffering and limitation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where the joy of being comes in.
That's where the joy of being comes in.
Right.
Yeah. And in chapter 8 he describes this shift
Okay.
from what he calls object consciousness
Okay.
to space consciousness.
Okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
What did that mean?
Yeah, so object consciousness
Okay.
is basically
Yeah.
when we're identified
Okay.
with the things around us,
Right.
with form,
Okay.
with objects,
Okay.
with thoughts,
Yeah.
with feelings.
Yeah.
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 And space consciousness
Right.
is when we become aware of
Right.
the formless dimension within
Okay.
all.
So can you give me more
Yeah.
concrete example of
Yeah,
that?
so remember how he talks about
Yeah.
sensing the energy field
Okay.
within your body?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a doorway
Okay.
into this
Stop.
space consciousness.
No.
Yeah, it's like tuning in to the subtle sensations, the aliveness that's
Right.
present within us at all times.
Okay. So instead of focusing on the external world,
Yeah.
we're focusing on our
We're focusing on our internal world.
inner world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from this place of inner alignment,
Okay.
he introduces this concept of
Right.
awakened doing.
Awakened doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that look like
Yeah.
in practice?
Yeah. So awakened doing is not about
Okay.
eliminating action.
Okay.
It's about changing our approach
Okay.
to action.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about
That's-
aligning our actions with our inner purpose.
Of like
So even mundane tasks
Yeah.
can become infused with
Yeah.
meaning and joy.
Okay. So you're not saying that
I'm not saying
we have to quit our jobs and go
No.
live in a cave
no.
to be awakened.
No, you can be awakened
Okay.
and do the dishes.
Right. It's about
Yeah. That's
about
what we were
how we approach
the
it.
task.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and he
Is it about finding?
he talks about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
where our work becomes
Yeah.
an expression of who we truly are
Yeah.
rather than just a means to an end.
Yeah. And I think that's where the real fulfillment comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we're doing what we love,
Right.
what truly lights us up,
Yeah.
our work becomes effortless.
Yes.
It no longer feels like a chore.
Right.
It feels like an extension of who we are.
Yeah. This is resonating with me a lot
Yeah.
because I'm seeing how it connects to what we were talking about earlier with the ego and
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's like when we're caught up in that striving and that constant need to achieve and acquire, we miss out on the
simple joy.
the simple joy of just being.
Of just being present.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings us to chapter 9.
Okay.
Where he explores this distinction between our inner purpose and our outer purpose.
All right, let's unpack that.
Okay.
What's the difference?
Okay, so our inner purpose,
Okay.
as we've been discussing, is to awaken to our true nature, to realize the truth of who we are.
Yeah.
Beyond the ego's limited
Beyond the ego.
self-image.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our outer purpose involves our actions and contributions in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's how we.
Okay, so inner purpose is like the why.
The why.
And outer purpose is like the how.
The how.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and true success, according to Tolle, lies in aligning our outer purpose with our inner purpose.
Okay, so that's that sweet spot again.
That sweet spot again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where our work becomes...
Yeah, where our work becomes an expression.
An expression.
Of who we truly are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we're doing that, then we feel fulfilled.
Then we feel fulfilled. We feel joyful. We feel...
It's no longer a chore.
It's no longer a chore.
Yeah.
It's an extension of our being.
Yeah, it's like it flows naturally.
It flows naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
That distinction.
Yeah, and he talks about 3 modalities of awakened doing.
Okay, so what are those?
Okay, so the first one is acceptance.
Acceptance, okay.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
So acceptance is about acknowledging the present moment as it is without resistance.
So even the stuff we don't like.
Even the stuff we don't like.
We just accept it.
Accept it.
Yeah, and that sounds hard.
It does sound hard.
It is hard, but the key is to realize that resistance only creates more suffering.
Right. So if you're resisting something.
Yeah, if you're resisting what is,
you're
basically arguing with reality.
Yeah.
And you're never going to win that argument.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So acceptance allows us to flow with the current of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even when the waters get rough. Right. So it's about...
It's not about surrender. It's about surrender.
Yeah.
But it's not about passivity or resignation. It's about acknowledging the present moment as a starting point for positive change.
Okay. So it's not about just like...
Yeah, it's not about just giving up.
Giving up.
And saying, oh, this is how it is. Yep. There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah. It's more like, okay, this is how it is. Yeah. Now what can I do from here?
Right, yeah. And this is making me think about all those times I've wasted energy.
Yeah.
Resisting situations that I couldn't control.
Yeah, we all do it.
It's like I was creating my own suffering.
Yeah. By not accepting.
What was
right
of me.
Right.
Okay.
And from this place of acceptance, we can access the second modality of awakened doing, which is enjoyment.
Okay, I like that one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so enjoyment is about finding joy in the simple act of doing, regardless of the outcome.
Okay, so it's not about...
It's not about the goal.
Yeah.
It's about the process.
Yeah.
It's about enjoying the journey, not just the destination.
Okay, so it's like savoring.
Yeah, savoring
every step of the way.
Every step of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we do that, our work no longer feels like a burden.
Right.
It becomes a source of pleasure and fulfillment.
Right, and I think we forget that sometimes.
We do.
It's so easy to get caught up.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up.
In the striving.
And the striving for the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next goal.
Yeah, and we miss.
And we miss the beauty.
The beauty of what's right in front of us.
Of what's right in front of us.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that's a common trap.
Yeah. Yeah. The egoic mind. Right. Yeah, it's always seeking something outside of itself. Right. To make it happy. Right. So it's never satisfied. It's never satisfied. Yeah. Yeah. But enjoyment is about recognizing the inherent joy that's available in every moment. Okay, so it's there. We just have to tap into it. Tap into it. Yeah. Okay, I like that. Yeah. Okay, and then what about enthusiasm? So enthusiasm is the third modality of awakened doing.
Okay.
And it arises when enjoyment is combined with a clear vision or goal.
Oh, okay. So enjoyment's like the fuel?
Yeah.
And enthusiasm is like the engine.
The engine
that drives us forward.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, so it's that passionate energy that propels us forward.
Okay. So it's like enjoyment without enthusiasm is not going to get us very far.
It might.
It might.
It might, but it'll be kind of like a leisurely stroll.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the enthusiasm.
Well, with the enthusiasm.
You've got that. You've got that fire.
That fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so enthusiasm is really important.
It's important. Yeah. And it's
okay.
It's the outward expression of our inner alignment.
Okay, so
when we're
really in alignment with our purpose.
Yeah.
That's when the enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's when the enthusiasm comes naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this whole idea of awakened doing, it's really inspiring to me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's making me think about like what kind of world would we create if we all started operating from this place?
That's a great question.
Of awareness and alignment.
And that's actually something that he explores in the final chapter of the book.
Okay.
Yeah. He talks about the possibility of a new earth.
Yeah. A world that's transformed. Okay. By awakened consciousness. Okay. Yeah. Where humanity lives in harmony.
Okay. So this is like kind of a utopia.
It sounds utopian.
Yeah.
But he's saying that it's actually possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do we get there?
Yeah. How do we get there?
Yeah.
Well, he talks about these people that he calls frequency holders.
Frequency holders. Okay.
Yeah.
And who are they?
So frequency holders are individuals who embody a higher level of consciousness.
Okay.
And they radiate this transformative power into the world simply through their presence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not necessarily
doing anything special.
They're just being.
They're just being.
Yeah.
Yeah, but their very being is transformative.
Wow. So does he think that like anybody can become a frequency holder?
He does. He believes that we all have the potential to become frequency holders.
Okay, so it's not like you have to be...
You don't have to be
like a saint or a guru.
No.
Okay.
You can be an ordinary person living an ordinary life.
Yeah.
But you're embodying this higher level of consciousness and you're radiating it.
Yeah, so it's like we each have a responsibility then.
Yeah.
To
kind of step into that.
Step into that role.
Yeah.
Wow, and he talks about Jesus' teaching.
Yeah. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Yeah.
And he's saying that, you know, the egoless, the ones who live in a state of surrender and oneness, are the ones who are going to usher in this new era of peace and enlightenment.
Yeah. This has been quite a journey. Exploring a new earth.
Yeah, it's a profound book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But it's really, I think we've gone from unpacking the problem to kind of glimpsing a solution.
Yeah, it's a shift in perspective for sure.
Yeah, and I think what's so powerful about Tolle is that he doesn't just offer like abstract philosophy.
Yeah.
It's very like practical.
Very practical. Yeah.
Like he gives us tools we can actually use.
Absolutely. He gives us a map.
Yeah. To get there.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like reading the book and nodding along. It's like actually like, okay, what can I do?
What can I do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the biggest takeaway?
Well, I think for me the biggest takeaway is that, you know, real transformation starts within.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't wait for the world to change around us. You know, we have to become the change we want to see.
So it's not about trying to fix other people.
No, it's not about fixing other people.
Control.
It's not about controlling circumstances.
Right.
It's about
shifting our own consciousness.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and when we do that, you know, it has a ripple effect on the world around us.
That's so true.
Yeah, so you know, by cultivating awareness, by choosing to respond rather than react, you know, we become part of the solution.
It's like that frequency holder idea.
Right, exactly. You know, we become
the change.
Become the change.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So how do we cultivate this awareness?
Yeah, how do we actually do that?
Yeah, in our daily lives.
Yeah, well, you know, he recommends a number of practices.
Okay.
You know, becoming more mindful of our breath.
Okay.
Paying attention to the sensations in our body.
Okay.
Cultivating an attitude of gratitude. Spending time in nature.
Okay. So it's not about like becoming a monk.
No, it's not about...
Like meditating in a cave.
No, you can do all those things.
Right.
If you want.
But you don't have to.
But you don't have to.
Right.
Yeah, it's more about just bringing that awareness into our everyday lives.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, how much time do you think people need to dedicate?
I don't think there's any magic number.
Okay.
Yeah, even a few minutes a day can make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more about the consistency.
The consistency.
Yeah, than the quantity.
Right. It's making it a priority.
Making it a priority. Yeah, and realizing that it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
We're not going to be perfect.
Right. We're going to mess up.
We're going to mess up.
We're going to get triggered.
We're going to get triggered.
Our pain body's going to come out.
Pain body's going to come out. Yeah. But the key is to just keep coming back.
To that present moment.
To the present moment.
Yeah. Okay, so it's like a practice.
It's a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
Into A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, it's a rich book.
It's a rich book.
There's so much in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope this conversation has inspired you.
Yeah.
To kind of continue exploring.
Continue exploring these ideas.
Yeah.
In your own life.
Yeah, because it really is.
Yeah.
I think it's a book that can change your life.
It can if you let it.
Yeah. So as you go about your day, ask yourself, what small step can you take today to become more present?
To become more present.
To invite the joy of being.
To invite the joy of being.
Into your life.
Into your life.
Yeah, and maybe it's just taking a moment to breathe.
To breathe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
smiling at a stranger.
Smiling at a stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's just noticing the beauty.
Noticing the beauty.
Of the world around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
On this deep dive into A New Earth.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And until next time.
Until next time.
May you live each day.
Yeah.
With awareness.
With awareness.
Perfect.
And